3, 2, 1, 0.
Ladies, gentlemen, boys, girls, animals, everybody in the world, welcome to Monday Night Nerd. I'm so happy to be here. My name is Corp Cosplay, and this is my podcast. I am here to talk about nerdy things, talking about cosplay, talking about comics, talking about movies, talking about conventions, and that's what we're doing tonight. We're talking about Niagara Falls Comic Con, because I was there. I volunteered all weekend long. And I have some opinions. I have some things that I want to talk about. I've never been here for the opening. That scared the shit out of me. Brian, welcome. Welcome. Glad I could wake you up. Glad I could wake you. Glad you're here. Before we get into Monday Night Nerd and the whole Niagara Falls Comic Con, folks, I always do a little bit of news, and it's been a slow news week. There hasn't been a lot, but at Niagara Falls Comic Con, Xbox decided to throw every trailer they have under the sun out at us and tell us all about their future games that are coming out. I am a hardcore PlayStation fan. I have owned an Xbox for, no joke, 2 days. I bought an Xbox 360 probably 8-9 years ago at Fan Expo when they used to have the Big EB booth. They were selling Xbox 360s for like $15. I went, if I'm ever going to buy one, this is it. I bought it. I brought it home. I made a profile and I turned it off and never turned it on again. About 4 or 5 days later, I went, this is a complete waste of time. I'm not buying a brand new game library. And I brought it back to EB and got my $15 back. Nothing against the console, nothing against the games. I don't need another one. So I am a fan of Xbox, even as a hardcore PlayStation fanboy. And I got to admit, PlayStation, when it comes to some of their trailers lately, have been a little, fans would say crap, but I don't know. I don't think crap. I think it's just they need a little bit of work. Xbox knocked it out of the bloody park with all these announcements. I'm going to quickly go through them. Some of these, you may have a little more insight than I do. I only know some of these from name value and what I've seen from, trailers and a little bit of gameplay that I've seen in the past. These are all not Xbox exclusives. Some of these are going to be multi-platform. Let's jump into it right off the bat. Call of Duty Black Ops 6. I used to be a hardcore PlayStation Call of Duty fan. When I used to work at Tim Hortons, I used to work the night shift till midnight, come home, and me and my buddies would hop on COD, Modern Warfare 2, Black Ops, and we would play till 5, 6 in the morning every night. And that was our routine. After I switched jobs and started doing the day shift, I didn't really get to play as much. I did end up playing a couple later ones, but just playing the campaign. So I do have a history with Call of Duty. Black Ops 6, looking like it's 90s based with a lot of the presidents from the late 80s, early 90s, the Soviet Union wall falling down. That is a really cool concept. It makes me kind of feel old a little bit, though, because I'm looking at going, oh, this is like Modern Warfare. And then I'm like, no, that was several decades ago. So I am interested to see what they do with this. I think it was Black Ops. In the zombies, you can play as former presidents and leaders of the world. If we're doing that again on Black Ops 6, that is going to be really cool. If you could play as, JFK, Clinton, George W., that's going to be really fun. I'm interested in it. It's one of the first times in a long time I have been interested in a Call of Duty game. Doom, The Dark Ages, kind of blew me away from this trailer. I will admit I'm not a big fan of the new Doom. Both new ones. I'm a classic Doom fan personally. I like the new ones. It's just a little too much for me when it comes to stuff thrown in my face. I'm getting old, I know. But this is really cool. It's a prequel adventure. He's got a shield. It's got a really cool looking world. I believe the trailer said that he is a weapon of the gods. This is an interesting take on Doom. I'm really interested to see where they go with this. I think this was only the first trailer they've released, so I'm really interested to see more gameplay footage. I'm really interested to see where they're going with this. The fans exploded, which is great. But, you know, when you mess with something that has such an iconic feel and an iconic look and bring in other elements, that sometimes ticks off the fan base, but it seems like everyone's digging this. So Doom, The Dark Ages, I'm interested. State of Decay 3, I did not get to see the trailer, but I know there's a good fan base for this. From what I've read, it looks like the fans are excited for this one. I don't know much about the game, but it looks really good. Dragon Age Valgard looks so cool. I've always been a fan of Dragon Age. Mythos, the look of the game, everything looks fun. I've never, unfortunately, had a chance to play it. One of them came out free on the PlayStation 3 many, many moons ago, and I've got it there, and I keep not deleting it, but I know I should play it sooner or later. But I've heard nothing but great things from the trailer. I've heard nothing great things about the franchise, so that is another great addition. Fallout 76 expansion caught my eye. I am really surprised that the folks at Fallout haven't just kind of pushed that to the side. I know it had an absolutely horrible launch. I know it's done a little better with updates further on, but they're still trying to push that 76 down people's throats, and I don't know enough about it. I've never really been a Fallout fan. I know I need to watch the series, but good for them for trying. It looks like the fan base is interested, at least. I know Crystal, who's usually in the chat and watching the show, she is a big Fallout fan, so hopefully the Fallout fans are excited for this. If you're an N64 fan, folks, this is something you've probably been waiting for a very, very long time. We're getting a new Perfect Dark. And this is going to be something I'm possibly going to be very frustrated that I don't own an Xbox for. There's only, I think, one other thing besides, the Halos and one other franchise we'll talk about later. I'm only frustrated that I do not own an Xbox because I cannot play one of my favorite fighting games, and that is Killer Instinct. I'm so frustrated I don't get to play that, but not being able to play Perfect Dark is another one of those, it's going to bug me. I'm not going to buy one, but it's still, and I'm not a PC player. For those who are watching who are like, just get a PC. I'm not a PC gamer. This show itself is streamed on a MacBook. I don't have a PC. It is something that will be a further purchase in the future, but right now, cannot PC game on this. It is too old. It doesn't work. So, Perfect Dark, I'm interested. And if I can get this on Steam later, I would probably pick it up and give it a shot. World of Warcraft, The War Within, a new expansion for the Warcraft franchise. Man, I don't know about the Warcraft franchise. It is not something that has had a lot of love from what I've seen in the past couple of years. But hey, give them credit for trying to get more out of this franchise. Age of Mythology, another one that everyone I know that's played it loves it. So having a new one called Retold, I'm interested in that. JS, how's it going? Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater. This is interesting. So this is a full rebuilt gameplay of the Metal Gear Solid Snake Eater from, I believe, the PS3, I think it was. Story's exactly the same, but this is going to be more of the newer style of Metal Gear Solid. But if you like the older version, you like the way the older gameplay was, supposedly in the game there is a way to flick a switch, and you will be able to play the older version as well. So that is cool. I know there are a ton of Metal Gear Solid fans out there. It's a little too in-depth for me. Again, I know I'm old. I love games like God of War that I can just turn my brain off. I know. I'm sorry. I know I'm not the gamer of today. Diablo 4 expansion. Another expansion from the Diablo franchise. I think this is the first one for Diablo 4. I think this is the first full one. I think they've had little ones, but this is the first big one. Interested in that. I played Diablo 3. I haven't played the old G ones. I know I need to. My wife's a big fan of the OG Diablos. But yeah, I'm interested to see what they're going to do with this. I think this is something that might reinvigorate that game. I know they've had a lot of problems since Baldur's Gate came out. That fan base went straight from Diablo and just jumped into the Baldur's Gate franchise so hard. So maybe this will bring some of them back. This is the one that almost everybody's talking about right now because everyone's waiting a long time for this one. A new Fable game is coming out for Xbox. Again, this is an Xbox exclusive, probably. The older ones were. I never really played it, but I know a lot of people love this franchise. And the one thing that they did say in the trailer is A, it'll be 2025 release, and B, this will definitely have lasting consequences from decisions. And as I'm not a hardcore fan of this franchise, I do know that that is something that people have had problems with in the past, where it felt like their consequences of their actions didn't really have a lot of gravitas in the story. But I think this is what they're pushing, that you do something in the game, it is going to mean something long term, which is very cool in concept. A new Indiana Jones game, Indiana Jones in the Great Circle. This is going to be set between Raiders and Crusade. It seemed like it was just a story trailer. There wasn't a lot. I don't think there was any gameplay in the trailer. Maybe we're going to get a little bit Tomb Raider feels in it. Maybe we're going to get a little bit of, I don't know, Uncharted feeling, because those games are sort of based on that style of movie. It's a young Harrison Ford in the mocap, it looks like. I'm interested. I don't see why it would be a bad game. I mean, movie license games are never the best, but who knows? I'm interested. I'm interested to see where it goes. Frag Punk is a new title that's coming out. It's a 5v5 hero shooter. Looks like stupidly bright colors. I think they're trying to obviously compete with the likes of Fortnite and maybe Splatoon to a point. It looks like they said they're going to have a modifier card system in every round, which could be interesting. It could throw things out of whack, which, hey, let's give it a shot. I do feel like the world is getting a little too heavy on these 5v5 co-op shooters and stuff like that. So, because you've got an Overwatches and then you've got this other one. I feel like it's too much, but that's me. I'm the old fart. Winterboro is an interesting looking game. It looks like it's an indie title. It's you're a mouse and he's going on an adventure, and he looks like he's going on to an adventure in an old hat. I have a PlayStation VR. I played Moss, which is somewhat of a similar game, I guess we would say, based on, just a mouse running around. I don't know if that's maybe where they got some of the concept for this, but I'm always just interested in it. I saw Moss back in the day when the trailer came out, and I was very interested in how they were going to make a giant world out of a small hero. And they did an amazing job with Moss. I know Moss 2 is out. I've not played that yet because I believe that's only for the new VR. But I'm interested. I think that'll be a really interesting game. I think it's something, it might be a little more lighthearted for the fan base of the Xbox. It seems like Xbox is wanting more of the adult gamer, wanting more, I don't want to say complex, but you got your Fables, your Gears of War, which we'll talk about in a second, and a lot more of stuff that's a little more hardcore of a gamer feel. So something maybe a little lighthearted, maybe a little more bright would be something different. I don't know. I'm interested. Mixtape. This caught my eye. This looks like a series we're going to talk about in a second because they had an update on their franchise as well. The trailer showed something what looks like a dreamlike story. That's not the interesting part. The interesting part is it looks like this is going to have a killer soundtrack. We've got Devo in this game. We've got the Smashing Pumpkins. We've got Iggy Pop and the Stooges. We've got Joy Division. They went all out on this soundtrack. Now, I mean, if you're going to put that much money into a soundtrack, I'd hope you'd have a pretty good game behind it to use that soundtrack effectively. So Mixtape might be something I'm going to look at later on. There is a PlayStation VR game that I cannot remember what it's called, but it's all about creating monsters and stuff in a small town. And I got that same kind of thought process when I watched a little bit of this. So this could be pretty cool. They showed off Assassin's Creed Shadow, the new Assassin's Creed. I'm not an Assassin's Creed fan. I've never really been into the franchise. I feel it, I don't like the gameplay personally. Again, I'm more of a boring gamer. I've tried a couple times to get into 2. I probably did about half of Assassin's Creed 3 or 4. 4. Yeah, 4. And then I just kind of stopped. But hey, I know they have a hardcore franchise, and I know this is a genre of Asian culture that they are very excited. The fan base has been pumped about this for decades, so I hope this is going to blow their minds as much as they've wanted to. A New Life is Strange. I got into this a little bit. I haven't really gone too deep into it. I've read that the original character Max Caulfield from the first game will be coming back in this one. I know I have the first Life is Strange, but I really should play it because I started to get into it and then life got in the way. But I do want to check it out again. Mech Break. I didn't really get a chance to see what this trailer was. It's got the word mech in it. It looks like there's customizable mechs from the screenshot I saw. If you're interested in that, you will be interested in this game. If you're not, stay away. Last but not least, folks, I think this is the one that has been taking everyone by storm. New Gears of War E-Day. Now, this again is one of those franchises that I have always been bummed that I'm never going to play. I know I could get a Steam machine and I know I could get get a PC and play there, but I've always been a console gamer. With all these announcements though, with, the new Call of Duty, which will probably be on PlayStation, but that Gears of War and Perfect Dark and, Killer Instinct from before. If I get a PC, I might get Steam and I might start getting some of these games because I am really missing out on some of these games. The Gears of War trailer looks amazing. I'm really jealous that Xbox gets this as an exclusive. Marcus is back. Yeah, Doom looked crazy. Yes, Crystal, Doom did look crazy. I did mention you earlier about the new Fallout update as well, or expansion. So Xbox overall, killer day. It's been all over the web for the past 24, 48 hours. I think it was Saturday it came out. They're killing it. Good for them. And they did also mention, this caught my eye, that they're in works for the next generation of consoles, which is something a lot of people have been wondering about because there's been some chatter about them pushing some of their games onto other platforms. And maybe they're getting out of the console race and they're just going to focus on games. From what this announcement showed, that is not happening. They are going to continue building consoles, and they are already in the works for building the Xbox, whatever they're going to call it. PlayStation, I can at least say it's going to be PlayStation 6. This is going to be Xbox Zero at this point. I don't know. If it's Xbox Zero, time code this, save it, show everybody in the future. I'm calling it now. It's Xbox Zero. That's it. That's it for Xbox. That's it for the news. Like I said, it's been kind of a slow weekend because I really haven't had time to look at the news because I've been at Niagara Falls Comic Con. Blumhouse announced. Justin. Blumhouse announced their games too. Oh, okay, I will have to check that out. Thank you for letting me know that. I will have to check that out after we're done here. And Brian says definitely get a PC when you can. Yes, that is seriously the next investment. I know, and you're probably dealing with it now. This whole setup is a little laggy, and I would love to fix it. I don't think it's the internet because there is a box right there that it should be firing a signal to my laptop. This is just a really old MacBook, and it's not really built for this. But it's all I have right now. So when we're able to save up some money, that will be my next purchase, is getting myself a tower that I can just go nuts with stuff like this. This was bought back in the day. This was actually my wife's old laptop. When we were doing stuff like going to school, when I was going to school, I had a laptop and we would sit on the couch and play like that. Is your Wi-Fi? No, it is Wi-Fi. It is not hardwired. So this is the front of the house. And I'm on the second floor. The router and everything is on the first floor at the other end of the house. So there is a connection issue. I do have the router bouncing to here just outside the door. I have an extender to bounce into here because when I first started this, the connection was not that great. So hopefully once I get a tower, I can get a good thing to pick up the signal and we can actually have some good quality shows. But that's besides the point. Let's do a quick sponsor. Actually, first, thank you all for watching. If you're still watching after all my rambling about Xbox, can you please hit the like button? Hit the subscribe button. You want to know more about this? If you like it, if you subscribe it, if you share it, if you comment, all those things, it lets me know that you want to know more about these things and you want me to keep doing episodes about stuff like Xbox news, video game news, and talking about cons, because I got a bunch of cons coming up. And if you want to hear my opinion on it and what I experience when I'm there, I'd love to tell you. And if you're like, Mike, please stop talking about cons, I can't stand it, don't like the video. But if you like it, it shows that you appreciate it. And that means a lot to me that you're here on a Monday night watching me. So like, subscribe, all those things, show your friends. It means the world to me. Let's jump into a quick sponsor, and then we're going to get on the road to Niagara Falls Comic Con. Folks, if you're new here, the sponsor every single week is my beautiful, loving wife. You're probably wondering, what? Is your wife giving you money? Well, kind of. But otherwise, I love my wife. Honestly, I would not be here if it wasn't for her. I would not be in this position to be online and have the cojones to talk to you guys online. She's always had my back. She's always been pushing me to be a better person. And I am seriously a better person with her in my life. Hun, I love you. You will always be my sponsor. Even if someone gives me money, you will always be top bill on the sponsorship. Hun, I love you. Thank you so much. All right, quick drink of water. Let's jump into it. Folks, last weekend was Niagara Falls Comic Con 2024 at the Niagara Falls Convention Center in Niagara Falls, Ontario. And this was my 7th year volunteering. If you remember the show from last week, I talked about my first time going. It had to have been about a decade ago almost. It was definitely before. I did go once before I started volunteering. It was a great show, but I think this was like their first or second year. So there was a lot of kinks and stuff. We have moved past that. We are deep in over a decade worth of Niagara Falls Comic Con. And so this is what we're going to do. We're going to go through a couple different sections. We're going to go through a day-by-day layout. We're going to talk about Friday. We're going to talk about Saturday. We're going to talk about Sunday. Then we're going to talk about who I met. What celebrities did I get to rub shoulders with? And then lastly, we're going to talk a little bit about good and a little bit of things that need some improvement. I'd like the setup this year better, how the guests were in the ballroom. That is something I've been hearing from almost everybody. And we'll get more into that in 1 second. So let's talk about Friday. Layout of the celebrity area. Let's talk about it. Justin brought it up. Let's talk about the layout of the celebrity area. So if you've never been to Niagara Falls Comic Con, Niagara Falls Comic Con in the Convention Center has a very, very big room. And that room was kind of the home of everything. You had most of the floor was your vendors, was your, cars and stuff like that. Then at the top of the venue, or the back of the venue, if you walked in through the entrance, was a line of tables, and that was Celebrity Row. You'd walk up there, you'd meet people like myself who were volunteering, you'd meet your favorite celebrities, and you'd go on your merry way. This year, however, things have changed. This year, the con has opened up to other parts of the convention center, including the amphitheater-style stage area, which was used for Crystal and the cosplay contest. Crystal was one of the judges at the first cosplay contest of Niagara Falls. And then there was another big room that had the photo op section. And at the top was a giant room which had myself and many other volunteers and handlers and celebrities. This was the new celebrity room. And I have to say that this was one of the best ideas that the convention has made. This was pretty much universally loved for the layout of the celebrities, for having big guests like Jericho on one end and having Chevy Chase on another, to having carpet, having to stand on hard concrete for hours and hours. I've gotten used to from doing this for so many years, but it is so much easier to stand on carpet. It makes your feet feel so much better. It made lines so much easier. I was honestly a little worried about how well the tape would stay on the carpet. I figured after 24 hours, the tape would be ripped up. But no, it was not. It was it stayed the whole time. Chevy Chase wasn't that big. Honestly, Alex, Chevy Chase had a pretty good line for most of the weekend from what I saw. From almost everybody I've talked to, everyone loved the celebrity room, and I really hope they keep that going forward. So that was kind of the beginning of my Friday. It was kind of getting a layout, of what some of the layout of that floor was, because I knew I'd be running around, as well as seeing routes for photo ops and the stage and the rest of the vendor areas, as well as some of the stuff out front, because that stuff does come into play for us, because we always have guests come up and ask us where things are, and it's good to just kind of get a mental picture of where things are, because a map can only do so much. We got a lot going on in the chat. Let me see what we got here. Brian, Wi-Fi and cell service was spotty for me basically all weekend. Let's quickly jump into that. So Wi-Fi was an issue all weekend, and I will say that I don't think it was the convention's fault. I thought it was originally, but then we all went out to dinner on Saturday night, and we were down just a couple blocks away at the TGI Fridays, and they had spotty internet as well. So I think that it does play a factor. I think the building should throw on their Wi-Fi, but I do think that the area is a problem as well. Let's see. Let's see here. My only issue is something that NFC has no control over, and that was some of the guest prices. Celebrity were charging more than $80. Sorry, logo's in the way. Charging $80 for selfies on top of the autograph fee. Yeah, that is something that Niagara Falls Comic Con cannot really do a lot on. That's really up to the agency that the celebrities work with and what they feel their value is. It will obviously fluctuate depending on popularity and how hard it is to get their autograph. I remember very much the first season of Arrow with Stephen Amell. That was not a bad price for it, but as soon as we got into season 3 of Arrow, that price went up pretty quick. I do believe he is a bit cheaper now, probably because he's not doing Arrow anymore. Brian, line setups were great, though. It's better, bigger space, more room for everyone. I agree. Alex, the building does have Wi-Fi, but it's difficult to get on. Yes, it is difficult to get on. I had to run through one of the rooms in the back, and I did see the Wi-Fi password, and I threw it on my phone, and it still had crummy service. So that's why I don't think it's the building itself. I think it's the area. I think everything is so solid there with steel and concrete and all that in the area that just getting a signal anywhere deep into the heart of that area is a pain in the butt. But yeah, let's go back into Friday. It was kind of slow. Fridays are usually slow. Same with Thursdays of Expo. But I was really able to get some chance to walk around, get some thoughts on what I felt about the layout, what I thought of some of the new vendors that were there. One of the coolest vendors that I ran into, and I really wish I had the time to sit down and actually take some photos and really get to talk to the guys, were DS, I believe their name was DS Authentics. They are the guys who make replica UD replicas. They make replicas for Kiss costumes. They are not the ones that they actually use on stage, but they are replicas built off some of the original molds. They had a ton of costumes there that I would have loved to have gotten some high quality detailed pictures of, because I do want to do a Kiss cosplay at some point in my life. I just don't know when, I don't know what, and I don't know how to build half that stuff. So I did get to check out the booth, though. I did get a couple cool pictures. It was cool to see all that stuff up close and personal for the first time in my life after being a member of the Kiss Army for a very, very long time. Let's see. What do we have here? Yeah, other than that, We had some really cool other vendors. Crystal is saying in chat, the Creatures of Rendlewood, they were cute. I fully admit I walked by their booth and were like, those are adorable. I hope they sell like crazy. There was another booth that sold ceramic ghosts. I know they did a killing over the weekend because our staff bought a ton of them over the weekend. My wife has one now. Yeah, they did a killing over the weekend. It seems like every year, one booth at these cons, we kind of just all swarm it and buy stuff. Hamilton Comic Con was Luigi up there. I can't remember what the one is. They're a wooden booth. They were at Niagara this year. They do big wooden cutouts of things. I got Luigi. I know others got other characters. The ghost one was the one for this year. Everyone picked up one. But yeah, that was kind of the Friday. Honestly, it wasn't a lot because we knew how busy Saturday was going to be because we knew all the heavy hitters were coming in. So easy, went to bed. It was great. Saturday, we woke up bright and early. I'm not a partier. I'm not someone who likes to go out. I'm not the one I don't drink or anything like that. So I'm usually early to bed, early to rise. I was awake before anyone in the room that I was hanging with over the weekend. So I was up bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, ready for Saturday. And boy, did I get busy. So over the past couple cons, I have been mainly sitting at one celebrity for the entire weekend. However, this weekend, I did not have that. I was a lot of different roles due to needs in different areas. And I knew one this weekend was going to be the Ayatollah of rock and roll, the learning tree, Chris Jericho. I'm a giant wrestling fan. I've been a fan of Chris Jericho's since like 95. He is with AEW now, and he was coming in as I believe, a last-minute replacement for Daniel Bryan or Bryan Danielson and the Bella Twins, who were supposed to be at the con, but unfortunately had to cancel. Thankfully, the con was able to get a schedule laid out fairly quickly and posted it online very quickly, so everyone knew when Chris was going to be there. So we didn't have a lot of people showing up first thing in the morning and waiting all day till whoever gets there. So we knew that Chris was going to be arriving at 12. We probably had the first fans arriving at 11. Actually, we had one guy show up first thing, and he was there all day, but we didn't have a ton. So we had kind of planned everything pretty well, which was great because that didn't allow us to get scared. You know, we kind of had everything laid out properly, and it allowed us to talk to fans and attendees the way we needed to. If you've ever gone to these conventions, you know that if we can only pre-plan so much, we can only guess on how popular a guest is going to be based on how big they are in pop culture right now, how much of a legend they are. So we can kind of assume that someone like a Chevy Chase, who it's their first appearance in Canada, they are a living legend of comedy. We know they are going to be busy. We know that anyone in the Harry Potter world is going to be busy. We know that, surprisingly, I can't believe this, the Sons of Anarchy people are still always busy. But there are some we aren't 100% about. And I have to admit, I wasn't sure how busy Chris Jericho was going to be. He's not a WWE guy anymore. So there are there are obviously the hardcore wrestling fans who know Chris Jericho is still wrestling and he's in AEW. But for the casual people, a lot of people don't know what AEW is. So if he's not on WWE, if he's not on WrestleMania, they kind of don't know it exists anymore. So we weren't really sure how busy he was going to be. He's also a villain right now, too. So didn't know how much that would affect him. But he was busy. He was pretty busy. I thought he'd be more, but he was still busy. We were very good at understanding and being able to communicate with the fans. You know, this is where we believe he is. He's supposed to be here at a certain time. prepare, make sure you have everything ready. He's going to, not be able to sit here and talk to everybody for a half hour. This is going to be kind of a quick process because of how busy he is. And everyone was honestly very accepting of it, which made my life a lot easier. Because I've been doing this for so long, and because I'm a wrestling fan, I usually get put with the wrestlers. They know me now, so they know that I'm not trying to give them miscommunications and I'm not trying to screw them over. I'm honestly just giving them the information that I would want if I was in their shoes. So it made the life of the volunteer, myself, and the others in my line way easier. And honestly, it was a breeze. It was so easy. It worked so well. And I was so happy how it went. Chris showed up at the time he needed to be. He worked his tail off to make everybody happy. He was smiling. He was enjoying himself. He was taking photos. It was a blast. It was a breeze. To Lisa and Terry and Antonio, who were behind the scenes helping Chris, amazing job. Thank you for making my life easier. For the others on my team, I'm sorry you're all brand new rookies and I cannot remember everybody's name, but you guys killed it for your first con. Amazing job. You did such a great job. I'm so proud of you guys. And by 4 o'clock, Chris was gone. Chris was ready out the door. He had to get on a flight because he had to go down to a concert, I believe he was going to, but he said he was super happy with how the day went. I got a great picture with him, which I'll show you later. But overall, Chris looked like he had a great time. After that, the day had kind of died down by that point. The con was over at, I believe, 6 o'clock. So around the 2 hours left mark, you start to see things start to slow down. Justin in chat says, last I saw Chris Jericho, crowds were chanting, please retire for him at AEW. Exactly. That I know of, and I was worried that would impact his attendance at Niagara Falls Comic Con. But honestly, there was no chance in line. Everyone was happy. He had a blast, and none of that existed. So I'm happy it didn't. I was worried it might happen a little bit. Dinner with the Con family on Saturday. It was, I can't really get into all of what we talked about because A, risque on my podcast, but B, I don't think I've laughed at a dinner more in my life. Like, it was so fun hanging out with the Con family. Stuff like that is the stuff that I love more than anything. We're always so busy at the cons. We're always running around doing stuff. I'm sad. You know what, Crystal? I agree. We're sad you forgot a selfie. Honestly, I never remember to take photos. I never remember to take photos at these things, and I really need to. I was thinking that after you left, and after I walked away from Jeff, I ran into JS and Jeff too, and it was the same thing. I was like, I should take a selfie, and I just didn't even think about it. Edith in chat, my stomach still hurts from laughing. Yeah, she was part of it, and yeah, I was talking about it on the podcast last week, and I won't get into it again because I'll get emotional. But like seriously, those are the moments and those are the times where I kind of have to. I did, thankfully, I sat back and I was kind of like, man, this is pretty cool. Like this is something I don't think a lot of people have in their lives and don't get the opportunity to do. It was really, really cool. It was really cool having just sitting down and yakking with everybody. Some of them I don't see other than at these conventions. It really means the world to me getting those moments with everybody. Yeah, we're not going to talk about it anymore because I'm going to get emotional. Justin Smith, I want to meet Gold Dust. I had a question I want to ask for so long. Yeah, that was a bummer. That was a bummer getting there and finding out that he had canceled. I wanted to get a photo for a friend, and unfortunately, yeah, we couldn't. Unfortunately, travel, I believe, was the issue. But yeah, that was kind of the evening. At dinner, we got to hang out with Jonathan Lipnicki was in the restaurant with us, not with us specifically, but near us. We were yakking with him, and I can never remember his name. The guy from the Cineplex commercials. He was there too, which was really, really cool. He was doing the Q&As at Niagara Falls Comic Con. We run into him all the time. He's kind of becoming part of the group at this point. We've had so many memories with him. But yeah, Tanner, thank you, Tanner from used to be on at the Cineplex preview show. He does a lot of it. He's great. He's really, really, really fun. But yeah, that was Saturday. We kind of went home. I know a couple of us, Edith and Brad, went and did some gambling at the casino. I didn't hear any screaming and yelling and cheering the next day, so I assume you guys didn't win the jackpot. But yeah, that was Saturday. It was really good just working with Chris and then getting some time with the family after. And then Sunday, we were running around a lot. I had to do some assisting in the photo op area for the day. I think a couple of their volunteers either had to leave early or something, so I had to give some help over there. They have a great team over there. We run into them every once in a while, but we don't really get a chance to talk with them. And it was really cool to get a different side of the con that I don't usually get to experience. And I was a little worried about going away from the floor because it was a lot of new people this year when it came to volunteers. They still kicked butt, but I was a little worried because I'm one of the last OGs that are still running celebrity lines. But I came back and it was going great. I don't think anybody had any issues with lines. Everything looked like it was running smooth as silk. So good job to all the new people who started this year. I hope you guys come back next year because you guys kicked butt. And that was kind of it. Honestly, it was a very easy Sunday, which was nice. After a busy day on Saturday, coming into a con on a Sunday, we always call it Sunglasses Sunday. We always show up wearing our shades, and we're always a little worried about what's it going to be like. Is it going to be crazy? Are we going to have issues? But nope, it was a great ending of the show. We ended the show and we ended up heading home. Terrible traffic on the way home. It should take me about 45 minutes to get home. It took me about an hour and a half. But what are you going to do about that? First time in a long time. I, for the first time, enjoyed this convention. I'm glad you enjoyed it, Crystal. I know Crystal and the Cosplay for a Cause group had a masquerade for the first time. It seemed like everyone had a blast there. I know they've been pushing it like crazy. It looks like they got some really, really, really good cosplayers coming out, and I hope that continues going forward because I think that will bring another layer to the convention. Now that we're done with the day by day and we got about 15 minutes left in the show, let's jump into who I met over the weekend. Let's start out with who I met first. And you're probably if you're not a comic book fan, you're probably going, I have no idea who this person is. I met Mr. Greg Capullo. Now, you're probably going, Greg Capullo, who is that? Greg Capullo is an incredible artist from the DC universe and the Spawn universe. He has had much success over the years, drawing for Spawn, drawing for Batman, drawing for, I think he did a Punisher run. No. Who did he do? Lobo, I think. Anyways, he's done some amazing artwork. I've been a big, big fan of his over the years. And I know we've talked about it in a previous episode. I have some old New 52 comics, and this was the first Batman from the New 52 run from Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo, and I got it autographed by Greg Capullo at this con, and I will be getting it done by Scott Snyder because he will be at Fan Expo this year, so I'm super excited to meet him. Justin Smith says there were a lot of complaints about getting into the building again this year. I personally thought it ran a lot smoother getting in this year. I have heard that has always been an issue, and I know that's something that they're going to be working on in the future. They kind of try to massage it as best they can every year. I think it's just kind of the venue layout that they can't really do a ton with, but I know they are trying to work with that as best as possible. Next, so Greg Capullo was the first one. I was super excited. As I said, I got to meet Mr. Chris Jericho. Great guy. I met him probably about 15 years ago. He played at the local park near me for a festival with his band Fozzy. The back area of that festival was very open. It wasn't enclosed at all. So he was just hanging out back there. We walked up, a bunch of us, and we said, hey, always a sweet guy. I have nothing bad to say about Chris. He was a great guest to have, and I hope he comes back. It looked like he had a lot of fun. Edith in chat says we had quite the issue getting out of the con. Yes, we did. We did have quite the issue. Edith, I hopped in Edith's car and drove me down the block to get my car, and boy, did we have quite an issue getting out of that bloody con. But not going to get into that. Next, I am a giant TMNT fan. If you've ever watched the show, you know that the TMNT movie is one of, if not the best comic book movies ever made. And I finally got to meet Miss Judith Hogue, April O'Neil, and I got this amazing print signed. This is the drawing that her character, April O'Neil, does of Leonardo in the movie. As soon as I saw it on the wall as an option, I'm like, that's the one I've always wanted. That's what I'm getting. It says to Mike, and she asked if I want anything else. I said I definitely want the numbers 9.95 because that is one of the last things that the turtles say to her and Casey kissing at the end, and that's always been a moment that stood out for me. I thought it was great. Cowabunga, Judith Hogue, April O'Neil. This is one of my favorite autographs I've ever got. She is super sweet. If you've ever been a fan of TMNT, go meet her. She will take every moment she can with you to make sure that you have a great time. Yeah. And she said I look like Matthew Perry, which I appreciate. It's not she had a big lineup. She did. Yes, Justin. She had a very big lineup because she was sitting there talking with every single person that came up there, and she was incredible. And she deserves every bit of popularity she has right now for the 40th anniversary of that movie. Or, yeah, 30th, 40th, whatever it was. Great, great guest. Next, as we talked about, Jonathan Lipnicki. Jonathan Lipnicki was there. Our friend Edith in chat, she was working with Jonathan Lipnicki. Such a great guy. You might know him from Jerry Maguire. You might know him from Stuart Little. Such a great, great guy. Got to dialogue with him a little bit. Yeah, came to dinner, hung out with us. Really cool guy. Edith was saying he was so sweet to work with. I hope he comes back. He seemed like he had a great time. I know he had a bunch of fans come up to him who are hardcore fans of Jerry Maguire, Little Nicky. Stuart Little, great guest. Absolute great guest. Justin says Heather Langenkamp had a big line too. Yes, Heather Langenkamp always has a big line. That is one of the first Scream Queens, and she is always busy. Brian, not sure. Let me throw this up because this kind of goes with what we were trying not to talk about earlier, but let's talk about it a bit. Not sure who would fall on, but they should strongly consider adding an additional entrance. Exit roadway from the parking lot. The exit, yeah, U-Hauls all the way up the road. Yeah, that was kind of what Edith and I ran into, was a lot of parked U-Hauls in lanes that did not make leaving very easy. But that's on the convention center, not the con. Next, I got to meet Mr. That didn't work. Mr. Doug Gilmore. Now, you're probably going, Mike, you met a Leaf. I did meet a Leaf. I am a Bruin, and I am an Avalanche. But growing up, if there was a Leaf that I was to go, he is one of the best players out there. It is Mr. Doug Gilmore. He is one that I've always looked up to as a hockey fan. It was great to finally meet him after all these years, and I know my mom is super jealous that I got to meet Mr. Doug Gilmore. But yeah, it was super, super fun. My mom is a huge Doug Gilmore fan. That was her player all the time I was growing up. But yeah, it was really nice, really cool guy, really sweet. If you're any bit of a Leaf fan, meet Doug. He's a cool guy. This man, I have been wanting to meet this man for a very long time. This man is Robert Patrick, and if you're a fan of the Terminator 2 franchise, if you're a fan of Reacher, if you're a fan of Peacemaker, you know this man as one hell of a villain. And I met him, and he is super, super sweet. I wish I had more time with him. I wish I had an opportunity to work his line. I believe her name was Amy, was working his line, and this was her first con, and she did incredible. I hope she comes back. But I'm really jealous that I did get to work Robert Patrick's line, because I would love to have sat there and yacked with him all weekend long, because I've always loved him as a villain. In fact, when I did get to walk up and see him, I told him, "You are one of the few villains that I always want dead." Like, there are some villains in movies that you're like, "Oh, I want to be the villain." Not Robert Patrick. In T2, in Reacher, in Peacemaker, I wanted him so dead. And I said, and that's exactly how I should feel in every villain role. I shouldn't be liking him. I should want him dead. And thank you for playing villains and playing them so well that I can't wait till they meet their demise. And he laughed and he said, "You are more than welcome." So it was great to meet Robert Patrick. And last but not least, someone who was actually there bright and early on Sunday, yakking with all of us, taking photos with everybody, was Mr. William Fitchner. You probably know him from everything under the sun. I could list every one of his IMDb's. You've ran into him somewhere. Such a sweet guy. Was talking all about Niagara and what it was like when he used to come here. Just overall a sweet, sweet, sweet guy. I hope he comes back too, because it looked like he had a great weekend. I know a friend of mine, Leslie, was working his line, and she said he was enjoying himself all weekend long. And that was it. That was all the people that I got to run into. Justin in chat said, "I only met Skeet Ulrich, who was a really nice guy, and Jamie Kennedy was also really cool. Needed them both to sign my Scream poster." You know what? Those two always seem to have a ball at the con. I'm not a giant Scream fan. I love the movies, but that's not I'm a Michael Myers Halloween guy. But I know they always do. They always have a blast together, and it seemed like they were having a great time. So this leaves with the big question. I posted it in the post for this episode. How is Chevy Chase? Well, I didn't get a chance to meet Chevy Chase. Chevy Chase, his autograph was over $200. Christmas Vacation is a movie that I watch every single year with my wife and my mom. And I have the Blackhawks jersey he wore. I've done cosplays of Cousin Eddie. I love those movies. Unfortunately, I just could not pay that price to meet Mr. Chevy Chase. Crystal, before we get any further, Crystal, if the prices weren't out of my range, I would have met April. Yeah, some of them were getting a little high. I'm a hardcore April O'Neil fan from the TMNT movie, so I had to. That was a guarantee. And Justin in chat, was Chevy signing behind a curtain? Yes, he was. He had a team of volunteers that were with him all weekend. Friend of the show and who has been on before, David Thorne, was working behind the curtain with Chevy all weekend, and I was able to get a little bit of word from him. Was he a good guest? Well, Chevy's reputation is not that great. There have been people who've worked with him in the past on shows who have come out and said he's not the greatest person to work with. He's not the greatest person to be around. There were ideas that maybe it's because of his physical activity and pratfalls and stuff on SNL and such has hurt him to the point where he's constantly in pain, and that's him taking it out on people. And I have to say, every bit of that was not true. From what Dave has told me, and Dave has been behind the curtain, and I don't think I'm talking out of context. I don't think I'm talking out of school by telling you all this, because I think it should be known. Chevy was a great guest. Chevy was smiling. Chevy was enjoying himself. Chevy was having an absolute blast. We did not hear anything from any people who met him, and he was busy. He was not crazy, but he was busy. I did not hear anything from anybody saying that he was everything that everyone has said in the past. Everything I heard all weekend was he was a delight. And I'm not saying that because I volunteer. I'm saying that because that's what I was told. From fans, they were saying he was a delight. From staff, he was a delight. For volunteers, it was a delight. So I am more than happy to hear that, because I will admit there was a little bit of fear behind me, wondering if that was going to be an issue. And I'm so glad it wasn't. I've heard everybody had a blast. Even back in the green room, I know Dave messaged me about saying that he had they were laughing all night. They were not, well, all afternoon after he had to get ready to leave. So I am happy to say that Chevy and Beverly as well were both delights at the con. So unfortunately, I did not get to meet him because the price was just too high, but it was more than great for the people who did get to meet him. So that brings us down to the last couple things. What was good and what needs improvement? Well, what was good about the con? Well, I think, as we've said in chat, and I think has been said multiple times throughout the weekend, the new celebrity area room is an improvement and a half. It made life so much easier for everybody. I did feel a little disconnected from the con, being in there and not really seeing vendors or anything like that. But I think the positives outweigh the negatives 10-1. It was a great addition to the con, and I hope that continues, not only for Niagara Falls Comic Con, but maybe for Frightmare coming up in October. The guests, why they never utilized that space in the past, Justin says. That's a good question. I know in the past, not every year, but I know in the past they have had other events in there. I can say right now that I can tell you right now that in the last year, I think it was, that was the green room. That was where celebrities went to hang out when they weren't at their tables or doing photo ops. That green room has changed now, but that was what it was used for. In the past, they've had other events in at the convention center as well, so that room might have been used for that. But this was all Niagara Falls Comic Con, and they used that room effectively. It was a great idea. Alex says, didn't have any complaints about vendors about lines. Yes, I think the vendors all appreciated that as well, because the lines can get so close to the vendors that it becomes an issue. So celebrity area was great. Guests, all the guests were great. Like I said, we were a little worried about people like Chevy Chase with his reputation, that it could have been an issue, but he was a delight. I don't think there was a single celebrity there that had a bad weekend. It seemed like everybody was doing well. I was able to at least say hi to most of them, and they all seemed to have a great time, great smiles. Everybody was enjoying themselves, which is a good thing, because, you know, there's always a chance that something could happen where somebody, you know, either a guest has a bad time or the celebrities have a bad time. But it seemed like it was smiles all around. And lastly, the amount of things to do. I know it didn't seem like it, but this year it felt like there was more things to do, which made life a lot easier and a lot more accessible. Like, I feel like some of these cons, and they may be smaller cons, and I feel like we've gotten past the growing pains with Niagara Falls. You feel like you go there and you're just supposed to spend money. Like, you pay to get in, then you pay to buy stuff, and you pay to eat, and you pay this and you pay that. There was so much, it felt like there was so much more to do at this con. There was cosplay at this con, predominantly more than ever. There were shops, so if you want to buy stuff, you can. There was places to take pictures. There was a giant Rancor there. There was the 501st. There was TMNT had a booth. There were the Ghostbusters, and I know most of them are there, but it just felt like there was more of it now. There was also the vacation car, which you had to pay extra for, but still. There was the Back to the Future car. There was the booths out front. The McDonald's booth was there. There was some other charity booths that were there. Cosplay for a Cause had a big screen you could take photos with if you're in cosplay. It seemed like there was more Q&As that were people more excited for. You could obviously meet their celebs. There was a ton of stuff to do, which was so good to see. Again, I don't think they added much. I just think they showcased it better. And as Justin said, yeah, there were more things to do. I hope they do more for the same for Frightmare. And I think they will. At least I hope they do. So that was the 3 positives. Let's go through the 3 negatives. First of all, we got to talk about the Wi-Fi. The Wi-Fi was a problem. And again, I don't think that was a con problem. I don't think we can't blame Niagara Falls Comic Con for that. I think that was a venue problem and that was an area problem. Because as I said, we were at TGI Fridays later in the evening on Saturday and we were still having connection problems. So I think that's more than just the convention, but it's still a problem because there were a lot of people who had pre-ordered tickets and wanted to get them on their phone, and the Wi-Fi and everything was just terrible. So that's something I hope they can improve later, maybe. The washroom and food layout was a bit more of an issue this time. Also, we'll also include photo ops in that if you were in the area for autographs, because I had a bunch of people come to me and say that they wanted to get to other parts of the con, and it felt like it wasn't just a straight out the door and to the left. It was kind of zigzag through the con, and then you got to take a right, and then you got to go through this way. You got to go. That was a bit of an issue. I don't know how much of an issue it was overall with everybody, but that was a bit of an issue for a few people. Crystal in chat says a vendor I got stuff from were super upset that was a center problem and wanted to charge them $50 for 10 to 4 Sunday. Yeah, again, that's a convention center problem that I hope is worked out in the future, because that's going to be a problem going forward, because we're just getting more and more connected with cell phones. And if you don't have good service, that's going to become an issue. So getting around certain parts of the con from certain areas, specifically the autograph area, was a little bit more of a hassle than it was last year. And last of all was the weather, which again, we can't blame the con for, but having it raining all day off and on was a problem. It just sucked. It puts a damper on everything. Everything gets wet, and then it gets hot when the sun comes out. We specifically got caught going to dinner and coming home from dinner in the rain. I know the Geeks & Co. had a bomb run relay in the back of the con, and they had a blast. It looked like the weather held out for them on the Saturday, and Crystal said the Saturday was stunning. It did rain that night, though. But yeah, the weather not playing 100% all weekend was a problem. But again, it's not something the con can do. But those are the 3 big ones. Nothing that the con can really do a lot about when it comes to the Wi-Fi and the weather. But yeah, the washroom thing and getting to the washrooms and getting to the photo ops and stuff from the autograph area was a little bit more complicated than it used to be. But again, it was much better having that autograph area. JS in chat says weather was great for the bomb run. I saw the photos. It looked like you guys had a blast. So overall, what would I give this con? I would give Niagara Falls Comic Con 2024. I'd give it a 7. I'd give it a 7.8 out of 10. I'll give it a 7.5. Let's do 7.5 out of 10. I think that the autograph area made things a lot easier for a lot of people. It seemed like that was the big thing that everyone was super excited about. The guests all seemed to have a good time. The internet was the biggest issue, which didn't affect everybody, but it did affect a majority, including myself, who did not have my phone work all day. And then as soon as I stepped out, I got a bunch of messages from my wife. Everything was fine, but she was just texting me throughout the day. But yeah, I would give it a 7.5. Before we head out, I do want to say thank you to all of the amazing veteran volunteers, the handlers. You guys know who you are. Most of you are part of the con family. You guys did amazing all weekend. The new rookies, you guys all busted your butts all weekend. There were some of you who were really intimidated at the beginning. Some of you had to be left alone because we had to do some running around, but you guys killed it. You guys did such a great job. I hope you all come back and do this again. I hope you guys had as much fun as we did. To the guests, to people like Jericho, to Judith Hogue, to Gilmore, to everyone, I hope you had as much fun as we did. It looked like you guys had a blast. Thank you to you. Thank you to you all who attended. You guys, a lot of you came up to me throughout the day and either said, we were doing a great job as a group. or you guys were just having a good time at the con. And when you guys say you're having a great time, that means we're doing our job properly. And that makes us feel good. And we're glad to be there because we're making you guys have more fun at a con that we're having a blast at. Some of you even came up to me, and it still shocks me. It shocked me that some of you did come up and say you were fans of the podcast and you watch all the time. And I'm still stunned that happens every now and then. Thank you for doing that. You do not understand how much that means to me. Whether it's you're coming to say thank you for doing the podcast, I'm a big fan, or if you're coming up and saying you're doing a great job volunteering, like seriously, it means a lot. I really do take it to heart when you guys say that, because it means I'm doing a good job. And it makes me remind myself when I have anxiety, when I get to a con, like, man, I could be sitting at home. I could be relaxing. I could not be on my feet for 24 straight hours. It makes me remember that I'm making you guys enjoy the con more. So that makes me push a little harder and go through it the weekend. And it makes me come back every single week and do this podcast, knowing that you guys are excited to watch the podcast. And I want to thank the NFCC crew, anybody behind the scenes for Niagara Falls Comic Con. I said it last week, this con will always hold a special place in my heart because many moons ago, the con fam that I know brought me under their wing and made me a part of this group. And it seriously means and I will swear once, the fucking world to me. Seriously, you guys mean so much to me, and anybody that I met through this con, you guys all rock. You make my life so much better. Thank you for taking me under your wing and making me a part of this group, because even if we have a bad day, even if stuff does go wrong, I know I've got so many of you behind me and beside me that it just makes life so much easier. So thank you all, to the NFCC crew, to the attendees, to the guests, to the volunteers, everyone. You made this weekend so good. It's over an hour. My voice is starting to go. I do have a little bit of complex, so I can feel my throat tightening up a little bit. Edith, music. Why'd you put music? I don't know why I said music. But thank you all. Next week, we have a new episode, obviously, Monday. This Sunday, I'm going to be at Forest City Comic Con. This is my first time going to Forest City in London. I'm super excited. A friend of mine who I mentioned on the podcast, an old friend of mine, you might know her from Star Trek Discovery. You might know her from Murdoch Mystery. Sarah Middich is going to be there. I was high school friends with her when we went to high school, and I can't wait to see her. I haven't seen her in a very long time, so I'm super excited to see her. I will be there. I don't know if I'm going to cosplay. I don't know if I'm just going to do street clothes. I don't know how long I'm going to be there. It is an hour and a half drive there, and I have some other plans later, so it'll all depend on how long I'm going to be there. But if you're there and you see me, stop by, say hi. We'll talk a little bit about what my thoughts on that con are next weekend. It probably won't be a full show. There'll probably be another topic. There'll probably be like an A-B topic. But folks, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for listening to me talking about Niagara Falls Comic Con. If you like this, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. I am this close to losing my voice. Thank you all for tuning in. I will see you all next week, and I love you all. Stay nerdy, folks. I'll see you next week. Hey, thanks for watching Monday Night Nerd. If you enjoyed this content, please hit the subscribe button, like this content, and follow on social media for even more nerdy fun. See you soon.